This conference will now be recorded.
Any queries from yesterday's session, like anything you want me to revise? Okay, right. So, yeah, Raghu, please go ahead.
Hi. So if someone asks us like which is better, like LoadRunner or JMeter for the web application, what can we
Hmm.
suggest
Yeah,
in
good
building
question.
point of view or any resource point of view?
Yes, yes, yeah. So we will see in detail the comparison and all as we go ahead with various tools, NeoLoad, LoadRunner, JMeter. But for now, to answer your question in a very quick way, see, LoadRunner is a paid tool, JMeter is an open source tool, and around 60% of the performance testing that happens all over, right, happens on JMeter. Okay, so rest of the 40% happens between other tools, NeoLoad, LoadRunner, and those, because ultimately the reason is obviously the paid part, right? It's not that
Yes.
all customers will be able to spend that amount, right? Like for example, performance center license and all is very costly. Okay, and it is also based on the user count. For example,
Okay.
if you have LoadRunner, if you want a 10,000 users license, it costs a very good amount, and it's a
Yes.
very huge amount. Okay, so and JMeter, and also the other thing is JMeter has lot of protocols which even LoadRunner supports, so there is no much of a difference. Yeah, but one thing, right? There is one thing where LoadRunner actually is better, that is in test management. So test
Okay.
management is like, let's say like some 10, 20 performance testers are there, and they are all running tests on multiple different applications, and also managing the documents, test and all is easy there in LoadRunner,
Okay.
because it is more like a cloud. It stores the test and all, right? Results.
Okay.
So test management is easy there. But JMeter is more sort of you have to take care of your test results and all.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
So yeah, obviously the final verdict is if you compare LoadRunner apple to apple, JMeter and LoadRunner, obviously JMeter is leading in the market. Yes, due to these reasons. I hope
But
I
I,
am
I, I, I don't, I didn't understand
Yes.
which here most of the
yeah,
customers used to go with this license tools, right? So
yeah,
even in the retailers also they used to prefer to go with this thing,
correct.
license
Yeah.
tools. Now they are moving to JMeter. So any reason like
Yes, there is a reason. One is obviously the cost, because people
yeah,
are cutting the cost in whatever way they
mm,
can. And the
mm,
second reason is, see, performance testing has become matured now, right? It's not
mm,
like before. So
uh,
initially, what was the problem is we needed the help of the community, the support,
mm,
right,
mm,
for the tool
mm,
and all. But now the support we are getting, like obviously the people themselves have the knowledge now to fix a lot of
correct.
issues, right? And
Mm,
also the community is also so big that they are not requiring any customer support as such.
mm,
Okay, so JMeter is is the lagging in only that area, right? You don't have a
correct,
support
correct.
team whom you
Support
can raise
area,
a
yes,
ticket.
correct.
Yeah,
That's true.
but now,
That's true.
since that is not an issue, people are moving more, and obviously cost is the major
Mm,
factor, because if you have such a good tool and you also are paying for that skill, right, with someone, so they are
mm,
using that skill, right? They are
mm,
asking you to work than
mm,
paying the license, right?
mm.
Yeah,
Yes, it is very expensive. I was there. I
correct.
was
Mm.
buying the
Yes.
licenses,
Mm.
so it is very expensive.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. The performance center license is very costly.
correct.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So let's get started. So yeah, please go ahead. Hari.
Hello.
Yeah, Hari, go ahead.
Yes, sir. Yesterday you told me about that endpoints, right? Endpoint.
Hmm.
You will change the endpoint at load runner, CVM like that.
Yeah.
My doubt is where we are going to change. I mean, in JMeter we are going to change the
In
endpoint.
JMeter. Yes, in
Or
JMeter.
how?
In JMeter, we will change the
Means we-
endpoint. When we are scripting, the script where we are trying to create that request, right? We will change the endpoint there in the JMeter.
I mean, we are changing the URL.
Yes, that's all. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
sir.
Okay. Yeah, anyway, so all these things you will see soon, okay? Like today, I will be covering on the HTTP request structure body and all, and we will also try to script a small thing. That time, I will explain you what this endpoint really is. Okay, like all those things. You'll get an idea now. Okay, today you will get an idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello, Vishnu.
Yeah, yeah, good.
Hello. Yeah, good evening. This is
Hi.
Dilip here. This is the first session for me. Okay,
Okay
but
then.
last 2 days, right? Yesterday and day before, I have seen YouTube videos of you. But
Yeah.
actually, I have 6 years of experience. 3 years
Mm-hmm.
from manual testing and 3 years from performance in JMeter.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But my company asking about engineering part. Need to
Mm-hmm.
learn the engineering part.
Yeah.
Like Perfman in inbuilt, right? We have inbuilt tools like Perfman and this one profiling and all.
Yeah.
This also here we need to cover or else what?
No, actually, see, performance engineering, I will only give a small overview. Like, for example, what's a JVM,
Okay,
what is threads, heap, and all. But it will be, it's a
okay,
disclaimer. It will be a very small part. Okay.
okay, okay.
Yeah. But because
Yeah,
this course is more focused on performance testing, right? Not engineering. Okay?
yeah. But I also need to know
Yeah.
because only 3 years of experience I have. So I
Right. Right.
need to know dig dive in JMeter also.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
apart from
Yeah. So
this,
basically, we will
somewhat
cover.
need to knowledge. Okay,
Like what's a JVM, what is heap, thread, what's a
okay,
memory leak. So in a high level way, maybe you just assume like half an hour or maybe maybe an hour max, right? We will cover this.
okay, okay,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
okay, okay. Then thank you.
But as I said, our main focus will be always JMeter. Okay, JMeter we need to
Yeah, yeah,
expertise.
yeah.
Right? Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I already no, I have seen your videos yesterday and the
right,
day
right.
before
Yeah,
yesterday.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because I
but
also
I
don't
need to
want
know
to
some.
give any. Yeah, because I also don't
Sorry.
want to say something which I will not be doing, okay, because it will not be correct because and also it's just a 40-hour course. We cannot like I'm trying to accommodate as much as I can without losing.
Mm-mm,
I mean, more sort of like, see, there will be some time, right, which is required for a person to grasp something, right? We cannot go below that.
mm,
Like, for example,
yes,
let's
yes,
say if I say something, you might take 5 minutes to grasp it, but if I finish it in 1 minute, it's useless, right? So same
yes,
thing.
exactly.
Considering all those 40
Yeah.
hours, I have properly planned, and
Okay.
due to questions and question answer and all, it might go to 40, 45. That is fine. But yeah, we will be
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
inside boundaries. Yeah, whatever we
So
have
Vishnu,
planned.
you are
Okay.
taking any engineering specific sessions
Uh,
separately or
yeah,
any
there's a
other?
different course, the database performance engineering I take, and also performance engineering.
Okay.
And one another course which is currently running mine is chaos engineering, which is on Saturday, Sundays only.
Kiosk engineering.
Yeah, which is only
Kiosk
weekend.
means
Yeah,
that is related to the POS engineering.
no, it's more related to an SRE, right? SRE roles.
Yeah, is that kiosk mesh tool or what is we are covering there, Vishnu?
There it is chaos mesh and gremlin.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
and little bit of chaos monkey and all.
Yeah,
Oh,
thank you.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. Okay, let's get started. Okay. So
Okay.
yesterday we stopped at CDN. Now I'll take some questions after a few minutes. Okay, because otherwise it will be just questions and I won't be able to cover uh, some topics. Right. I will stop in next 15 minutes again. Okay, for some questions. Right. Now yesterday we spoke extensively on CDN. Okay, and we understood CDN is mainly used for improving the performance by caching the media or delivering the media faster to your browser. Okay, so that's the work of a CDN. So what CDN does, the full form of CDN itself is content
Delivery
delivery
network.
network, right? So the delivery. So what it does is it fast, like it speeds up the delivery, right? Speeds up the delivery of the media, files, documents, and whatever, right? Except the code, right? All other things it can deliver, whichever is little safe to be put on different server, because we cannot put some unsafe things. Like for example, let's say I'm a bank. and I have this bank statements of my users. Can I put it on CDN?
No, we can't put.
No,
Yeah,
it's a very safe thing, right? So I have
correct,
to put it in my server only. I will never put it
correct.
there. But let's say if there is let's say uh, my bank website is having some offer, okay, and there is an image of that offer. Can I put that?
Yes, it is a
Yes,
public
that
thing.
I can put. Yes, it's a public thing and it's not that much of a privacy issue because anyways we are going to show it to everyone, right? So we
Right.
can put it there. So this way you can, I mean, like differentiate between what can be on the CDN and what cannot be, right? Yes, so
Who
that's a
will do
CDN.
this differentiation? Who will do in the project? Like, for example, POs or BAs or architects, or who
Architects,
will do?
architects. There will be technical architects, then enterprise
Okay,
architects. They will plan it.
okay,
Okay,
okay.
and obviously there will be a BA also, the analyst, right, who
Yeah,
will be clearly
I will
defining
do.
the boundaries,
Correct.
and there will be a discussion with the customer. Even like there will be a team if it's a very huge business like banking and all finance, right? If it's a banking customer, then again there will be a compliance officer and all, right? So they will
Correct.
do an
Correct.
audit. So all those
Correct.
things will be there. Yeah. Okay, coming to now, so we are at this stage now. So if I show you the diagram again, I am a user, I am browsing, let's say some a.com. Now a.com IP, it will open that IP. When IP goes, my CDN, then we will hit the backend. Okay, so now we are at this stage. We have covered till here. Okay, so my request is going. Just assume. Okay, my request is going. Now CDN we saw. Now it is entering the backend. Okay, so let's try to understand the backend. So when I am speaking about the backend, first it will enter something called a sometimes called a middleware. Okay, now what's a middleware? Middleware is a security layer, and again this is optional. I will mark it as optional. Not that every application will have it. Okay, it's an optional. So what is a middleware? Middleware generally you'd have heard MuleSoft and all, right? There are some middlewares. Okay, now what is this
Yeah.
middleware is? It's more sort of like a security layer, you can say. Before entering the backend server, what the security layer will do is it will check that whatever is entering is proper one or not. Is it a proper request, or is it safe to send it to the server? All those things it will check this middleware. Okay, middleware is a component like that. And see, when I say middleware is a software. Okay, now this software will be running on, let's say, CPU, some one CPU, two CPU, whatever the software requires, right? How much ever it requires to run that much CPUs, like three CPUs, it will be running. So it will be like if you want to imagine what it is. So it's a group of CPUs. I'm saying middleware, and in that CPU there's a software running, which could be a MuleSoft or that middleware software, right? It's more sort of like an antivirus you are installing in your laptop, right? Now that antivirus cannot run without a laptop, right? You have to install it somewhere. So when I say like let's say McAfee antivirus, right? Is running. So similarly, I'm saying middleware is running here, right? So middleware. So when my request goes, it will enter the middleware, and it is running on some 3-4 CPUs. How much ever the resource it requires to handle that many requests based on the load and all. So after these CPUs, this group of 3 CPUs, next comes the load balancer. Again, when I say load balancer, it might be 5 CPU, 6 CPU combination. Load balancer is the software running on it. So now load balancer are of different types. Again, load balancer is also optional. I will never say it will be there in all the applications. Okay, it it is also an optional component only. If it's not that surely you need a load balancer, you can run an application without a load balancer also. Okay, so let's try to understand now this load balancer. So what's a load balancer? Now load balancer is of different types. There is hardware load balance, analog and digital. Okay, two ways of load balancing is there. Analog is more sort of like using switches and all, and digital is using software. Okay, so what is this analog and digital? I will explain you. Okay, first let's understand what is the purpose of a load balance. So let's say This is my load balancer CPU. Okay, one CPU is there. And when I say CPU, see, what you need to assume is whenever I say CPU, or I will use the word system maybe. Okay, whenever I say system, it has CPU, it has RAM, it has disk. Okay, assume like that. Like it's a I mean like a full a group. It's a group of your processor, RAM, and disk. Okay, so load balancer system, let's say, and this count can be one or two, depends on the size of your load balancer. Okay, one system, two system, three system, or three nodes, four nodes, or three instances. All these are same word. Okay, we'll understand all this. Okay, anyways, so load balancer nodes. Okay, now the request is coming. It's a one request is coming. Okay, now let's say some 5 requests are coming. Okay, now after this load balancer, what will be there is my application CPUs will be there. Okay, or systems will be there. So let's say I have put my application on 3 systems, S1, S2, S3, and let's say all these are connected to same disk, D1. Okay, so my code, everything will lie on D1 in this disk, and this is just your processor RAM combination. Processor RAM, processor RAM, processor RAM. Okay, some processor and RAM, some processor and RAM. 3 machines you have. Okay, disk is same for all the 3 machines. Okay, now this request is coming. Okay, now there are 3 systems. Where will I send this request? Isn't it a question, all of you? Should I send it to S1? Should I send it to S2? Should I send it to S3? Because there are 3 systems. If it is only one, it's easy. 4, I will send it to S1. But now the problem is this 4th request, will I send it to S1, S2, or S3? Are you getting the problem here?
Yes.
So load
Yes.
balancer does that duty.
Distributing the load.
Yeah. So load balancer is your traffic police. Okay. So what this load balancer will do is it will send the traffic properly. Even I will not say a traffic police. Load balancer is more sort of like a person who is sending like five people should only go to this road, 5 to this road, 5 to this road. So properly dividing the traffic, right? To so that all these 3 is utilized properly. It's not that only S1 does the whole work, S2 and S3 sitting ideally without doing any work. Load balancer will take care that S1, S2, S3, 3 of them are properly utilized. Now, for example, let's say before any request coming, the utilization is at, let's say 10, 10, 10, 10, 10 percentage. Okay, each the CPU. Okay, let's say I'm seeing the processor utilization. Now, let's see one by one. Okay, 10% of processor is being used. Now what will happen? The request will start coming, right? Let's say one request comes. What load balancer will do? It will send it to S1. Okay, and next will come S2. Next will come S3. So let's say all will become 20, 20, 20. So this way it will try to maintain the percentage, okay, equally, so that the percentage becomes equal. Now let's say when all of them hit 100, what will happen? What do you think will happen when all of them hits 100? Your system will fail because the all 3 machines whatever you had is totally exhausted. Your system will fail. Okay, but to avoid the system failure, there is one technique that I will explain, okay, later. Now let's focus on this. Now let's assume this is S1, S2, S3. Now equally dividing the load. Okay, understood. It's easy thing only. But see, since we have this thing here, why can't we think little innovatively, right? Why only equally? We can plan something else also, right? Like for example, let's say this CPU is 5 times size of this one. Others are like small. I mean like let's say if this is 1 time, this is half of that size. This is 1/3 of the size of that CPU. Okay, so basically this is the biggest one. So what I will do, if there are some let's say some 10 requests coming, I will send 5 to S1, let's say 3 to S2, and 2 to S3. So now what is happening? Is the load equally divided? Is it equally divided?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
not equally. It is divided based on the capacity of
Exactly.
the.
Based on the ratio, right? We are
Correct.
dividing
Correct.
it in a ratio, right? S1 should be this
Correct.
ratio, S2, S3. So this also your load balancer can do. Okay.
Okay.
Now all this thing your load balancer is doing, how it is doing is the next question. Okay. So based on
Certainly,
how
sir.
it is doing, your load balancer type will change. Okay. So there are two
Okay.
types of mainly load balancer. One is analog and one second is digital. Okay. Now analog load balancers are very old type of load balancers. They don't exist much now. Okay. But digital exists more, like more than 80% are load balancers are digital. Now let's try to understand which is what is analog in a very quick way. So analog is nothing but, see, there will be a switch box, let's say. Okay. When the request comes, the switches will be there, actual hardware switches. Okay. They will switch between the CPUs, like more sort of like electronic, right? Like a relay and all, right? You would have
On and
seen
off
how
kind
the
of.
it's more sort of like switch on and off, right? Like in that way, it will be real switches, okay, which will work automatically, but there's no manual intervention required. Yeah, analog switches, okay. But now this is like a very, I mean, like anyways, a primitive technique, right? We have softwares. Why should we rely on that, right? So now whatever we have is digital. So digital is actually software. So what the software does, based on how the requests are coming, it will do some calculation and it will route to that IP, that internal IP of that CPU, that request. Okay. Now when the request goes, obviously the response will also come from same CPU only, right? Are you getting my point? No. Let's
Yeah.
see,
Yes, Vishnu. Yes.
right? So let's
Response
say
will
this is a
come
load
from some.
balancer and
Mm.
S1, S2, S3 is there. My request is going R1, R2, R3. Okay. Let's say this R1 was coming here, R2, R3. Okay. Now let's say RES, response 1, response 2, response 3 will also come from the same system only. And it will also
Correct.
again enter the load balancer and then go to the next, I mean, like it will reach then it will pass again through the middleware and then again to the browser, right? So that journey it will cover, okay, back from front to back. So this is how actually the real load balancers work and how the traffic is properly allocated. Now, what do you think? Load balancers improve your performance or not?
Yeah, definitely. There are so
Yes.
many load balancing
Yes,
issues
correct.
in the large enterprise applications. It will
Right.
improve the performance. Yes.
Yes, it will improve the performance, but at the same time, if not properly
Conflict.
optimized, or I can say
Yeah.
not properly defined, then load balancer can become your bottleneck also.
Conflict.
Okay. For
Correct.
example, let's say some 100 requests are coming. Okay, some 100 requests are coming, and let's say I have some two CPUs. Okay, just for understanding. Now I do it 50-50 always. Okay. So when I plot the graph, how the requests are going. Okay. So 50 is the max, which should be, and I'm just plotting the graph. Okay. So generally, both of them should be in ideal case diagram I'm drawing. Okay, maybe not ideal. I will draw something which is little realistic. So it might be somewhere like this. Okay. Okay. Let me erase it. So how the request will be there, right? With the time I'm drawing. Like I started monitoring it from 1 a.m. to let's say 5 a.m. So let's say the graph will look something like this. Right? It might be some 55 and this might be some 45. Somewhere between that it will fluctuate. Then second one, and this one I'm talking about S1. Okay. Now let's say I draw the second one also. Something second one also will be somewhere around that only, which is S2. Now this is an ideal case I'm saying. Okay.
Correct. Correct.
But what you generally, so as a performance tester, when you analyze this graph, sometimes what you observe is something like this. Again 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. I keep 50. The graph will look something like this. Okay. So this is S1, let's say. Okay. But let's say, okay, let me draw it correctly a little bit. Sometime what will happen is your the configuration, what you're expecting is this, okay? But what you might get is this, S1 and S2. So is there a problem in the load balancer or not?
Yes, it is
Because the
Yes.
traffic is not properly getting divided.
distributed.
S1 is getting more traffic, S2 is getting less traffic. Now, why is this a problem? My traffic is getting handled, no? Then why should I worry about it? What's the problem here?
Load balancer setting configuration.
It's a issue. So what will happen? I will see a response time increase in S1. Okay. S2 will be anyways in my threshold limits. That is fine. But so what will happen due to the increase in this S1 response time, my average response time will increase. So overall, my performance will degrade. Are you getting my point? Because why my response time increased in S1? Because the load increased, right? S1 is not certified for that load. It was certified for 50. Now it is taking 80. So obviously more CPU, more RAM is being utilized by of the S1.
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
So
Yeah, go ahead. I'm audible.
Yes.
Yeah, someone was asking a question. Yeah, now let me explain. Like maybe someone of you might be
Vishnu,
having a question. Why the
uh,
response time is increasing, right?
hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
your voice is
Vishnu, just
doubling.
see, can you hear me now?
Yes, yeah.
See, if you are just showing that the second graph is having some issue, but
Mm-hmm.
before that, what are the things you are saying that you are analog and digital? But previously, I just get to know about that. That's called as starting and dynamic. But here, if it is this, for example, if you are going to use the syntax like your weighted round robin, then in that case, that graph is not going to show any type of issue, right? Let me
Yes,
correct.
exactly. So see,
If
there are
yes,
various algorithms. There are various
right,
algorithms.
right,
Now
right,
here,
Hello.
right.
yeah. Mm. Yeah, go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah. Please go ahead. I can hear hello, but
Sir, your
Hari,
voice is
uh,
doubling. I can't able to hear.
is it for everyone?
No, Vishnu. It is
No.
clear for us. It is your problem, maybe your network problem. Vishnu
Yeah.
is audible to you.
Okay, right. Hari, maybe you can just drop and reconnect. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe a small network issue from your end. Okay. So now see, now you might be having a doubt how response time is increasing here. Okay. In this case, that I will explain soon when we try to understand what is actually the relationship of response time, throughput, and the resources. Okay. That time it will be more clear. But what I'm saying is this actually will degrade your performance. Okay. And by analyzing this graph or analyzing the graph, you can clearly find out the problem is in my load balancer. Now there is one more thing, easy way. Okay. Let's say I am drawing a throughput graph. So what is throughput? I'll explain later. Anyways, so even from throughput graph also, actually I can find out if there is a problem in my load balancer. Okay. If I have 4 CPUs, all 4 CPUs actually should show same, like based on whatever the load balancer algorithm is, right? If it's equal, it should show same processor utilization, 50 50 50. If any out of those is showing 40 and maybe something else is showing 60 or even 50 50 50 40, so then there is some problem in the load balance. Okay, that CPU utilization, because I have defined my load balancer that each of my CPU should get equal. But when I see in my monitoring tool in Grafana or AppDynamics, what I'm seeing is it is showing 50 50 50 40. So there is some problem that I need to report to the development team or the DevOps or whoever is the person who can fix it, right? Load balancer issues can be found out easily by analyzing the CPU and RAM utilization graphs of our like the overall application. Okay. Yeah. So any questions anyone till the load balancer? Like what is a load balancer? Did you understand in a high level way? Any doubts in that?
Yes, Vishnu. But one doubt I have is,
Yeah.
so while by analyzing CPU and the RAM, right? So we can pinpoint the load balancer issue. We
Exactly.
can suspect the load balancer configuration have the problem.
Yeah.
So, but CPU and these components will be there in the web server and app server and everywhere, right? So in the DB and
Right.
all.
Yeah.
So how can like we can say only load balancer could be the
We
problem?
cannot. We cannot. That's a very good question. Okay. So here
Mm.
I'm saying is that's a first alarm or an alert
Okay,
for you.
okay,
Okay.
okay,
Then you have to analyze further.
okay, okay.
Okay. So you
So
need to go to
is
that
that any
CPU.
monitor we can set up for the load balancer itself?
Yeah. Yes.
Like
Yes.
any? Okay.
Generally, if you have a load balancer, automatically your DevOps team or the monitoring team would have set up some alarms or alerts.
Oh,
Okay.
okay, okay,
But in case they have not set up, you are the person who is going to set up the monitoring tool, then you might have to just configure that endpoints, the
okay,
utilizations. Okay. Yeah.
okay, okay.
Mm. And the other good way of analyzing
Mm.
this is by analyzing the transaction count. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So how much is leaving your load balancer, right? Should be how much is
Mm.
coming.
Mm.
Okay.
Correct.
Sometimes what will happen is there might be some difference, right? 50
Mm.
is going and only, I mean, sometimes happens 30 is coming out. Okay. The reason is few are getting error or few are getting, they are not passing the load balancer.
Oh,
Even
okay.
such sort of issues will also come because load balance is
So,
ultimately like a pipe only, right? Water
is
is
there any
coming and going.
specific status code for load balancer errors, specific errors?
Ultimately status code will be always 500 only, which you will see.
500
Okay.
only. Ah,
So we
correct.
have to now identify from the load balancer logs.
Mm.
Okay, what is the problem?
Okay.
So load balancer
Oh,
logs will be there in Kibana or whatever tool you are using. Even load balancer, whichever software you are using, there will
mm.
be a way to get into that and get the logs.
Okay, okay,
Hmm. From that you can identify.
okay, okay,
Okay. Anyways,
okay.
so coming back to
Yeah.
load balancer. So any doubts, anyone? So simple, load balancer balances the load by distributing the traffic properly among the resources. So if someone asks you what's a load balancer is a software algorithm running on a server which will divide my traffic amongst the resources that is there equally or in whatever ratio so that my performance or my traffic is properly optimized. Okay, right. Now
Yes.
coming to the,
Hello.
yeah, please go ahead.
So after before the load balancer, middleware will be there.
Sorry, you asked before this load balancer, CDN is there, is it?
CDN or middleware.
CDN or middleware, yes. The structure will be like this. Let me show you. Yeah. So we are here, right? So either middleware or maybe CDN.
But my doubt is in the middleware only application server will be present.
No, no, no. Middleware will have a separate server.
Then where will be the
Yeah, that's a very good
original
question. Okay.
application server?
So
Application
my
server.
application server will be in my S1, S2, S3 inside.
Okay.
Okay. And after this S1, there might be one more system, which it could be like, let's say, D1, D2, D3. Now, what this server could be, this is the DB server.
Okay.
Then my disk, the hard disk or SSD, whatever, right? The disk in which the data is
Okay.
stored, that will be there, right? Now, this
Uh,
first one is my app server. If you have more, like, see, sometimes what will happen, only some applications might have app server. It's not that all applications should have app server. There might be only web server also. Okay,
okay.
because servers are also different types: app server, web server, proxy server. I'll explain, okay, what they are when we go to that section. Okay,
Okay.
yeah. Now see what this app server, all these things, whatever we are using words, right? They are all softwares, okay, and they all need resource to run. Okay, it will be running on the CPU servers, right? So ultimately, they are all softwares only, which is running, right? And it will be running on the various systems, right? Which you have. Either the system will be on cloud or it might be on the on-premise. That also we will discuss. Okay, what is on-premise, what is cloud soon. Okay. Yeah. Any other doubts, anyone?
So one small doubt, Vishnu. So
Yeah.
what, see, the middleware is again a mood software. It is about handling the access controls and
Yeah. Correct.
authentication part, right?
Yes.
So,
Right.
for example, I'm entering the wrong username, password, or something.
Mm,
So
correct.
that should identify I'm a not a authenticated user. So
Yes.
then the request should not, it will not be going to tell application servers and run the logic and identify. It is all, it will return back from the middleware itself. The request will come from the, it will be processed in the middleware only. That's what
Yeah.
you are saying? Okay.
Yes, exactly. So middleware will never leave it further because see, if there is
Mm.
a request which is not valid one, why should
Mm.
I load my
Go
server,
further
right?
and correct,
Yeah.
correct.
So that's the
Okay.
main thing of
Yes, sir.
middleware.
Yeah,
Sir,
that's,
one
yeah.
doubt, sir.
Yeah, Hari, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, you are telling that in the middleware will be authenticating the user ID and password. But my doubt is that whatever the user ID and password that should be I mean through the database we have to validate. Na?
Mhm.
In
Yeah.
the
So
database
very,
user ID
very,
and
very,
password will be there.
yeah, that's a very good question, Hari. So what this middleware will actually, I mean, like check, right? The authentication, it will be the token. Okay. So once you log in, once the login is properly validated, a token will be generated. Okay. So that token is what the middleware will validate. It will not validate username password. Are you getting? So first time it will go to the server. If you are, especially username, I mean like this is for login. I'm saying the action. If it is a general request and all, it will even check the headers and all and stop the request from going to server. If your request itself is wrong. Are you getting?
No, sir, I can't get.
Ah, so see, it is simple. Okay, when we go to that section, I will explain, Hari, because now it's little high jump. Okay, let's wait.
Okay, okay,
Okay,
okay, sir.
I'll explain that. Okay. Yeah. Any other doubts, anyone?
No, I think Vishnu.
Yeah. So see, now this middleware can be, as I said
Sir, one
before.
doubt, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, we will check the throughput, all these things now. These
Mm.
things we will check in the application server or what we will check in the client side only.
You can check on the middleware also, the web server.
Okay.
Yeah.
While we are writing the bottlenecks now, then we have to check those parameters in the application server or in the middleware where we have to check and write those bottlenecks.
See, based on where the issue is, you have to do that, right? Generally, when you do run a test, it will be obviously the request going and coming out of middleware. You won't be testing directly
Okay.
your, like backend, right? You will be testing it, like through the middleware, right? Now, if your
Okay.
middleware you're thinking, oh, there might be some issue, then you go to the directly the load balancer layer and test it. That's the backend fully.
Okay.
So first you will be running through middleware only. So whatever throughput and etc. will be through the middleware. And this throughput, when I say, it is only the successful ones. Failure ones we will not include in throughput.
Okay.
Okay, that we will see. Anyways, all these things. Right. Any other doubts, anyone? Okay. Now, before now, I go on to the next question and answer. Let me move on to the next topic. Okay. So next topic we are going to see is understanding what is an HTTP protocol. Okay, or what's a protocol in general. Okay, when we say protocols or when we say request, what generally is this request, right? Or I'm again and I'm saying request. So what this request is? So what is a protocol? What is a request? And what is especially an HTTP protocol? How the HTTP protocol structure will be? What are the various components inside the structure? And then what we will do is we will simply create a small test plan in JMeter for testing an HTTP protocol, and then we will run a test on that protocol. Okay. So first, let's understand what is a request, which we are already know. We have been seeing from some time. Request is nothing but whatever I want from the server. Let's say I am logging in, so it's a login request. If I am browsing, I am clicking on a product to get the product details. It's a catalog, maybe request, right? So these are all requests. And ordering request. If I'm clicking on order, so it's ordering request. So all whatever I am sending to the server, right? It's a request. And this request can be of different types. Now, let's say I am sending an email. I am sending a file. Okay. And I am sending a username password, basically to log in. Do you think all these three, are actually of same category? What do you think?
No, they're different.
So all these three are different categories. Even let's say I am running a query, running a SQL query, or I will just say sending a query to the SQL server. Sending SQL server. So all these four are actually different things. Okay. So for example, let me explain you through some real world example. Let's say a person is a pickpocket crime. Okay. There's another person who did a tax crime, and there's another person who did some, let's say, maybe some other crime. Okay. Does all these three have same punishment?
No.
No, different punishments, right? Now let's take one more example. I am studying in, let's say, I am working in a private company. I am working in a government organization. Uh, Rules in private and government organization rules, will it be same? Will be different, right? Private organization might have little, maybe the timings might, those things might be, let's say, some things might be common, but there will be a lot of other rules which are not common, right? Similarly, what happens is whatever happens on the internet, right? Based on what is happening, there is a set of rules. Okay, so let's say you are sending an email, there is a set of rule. Sending a file, there is a set of rule. Sending the username password means basically you are logging into a website, right? There is a set of rule. You are sending some SQL query to a server, there is a set of rule, right? And that set of rule actually makes sure, let's say Pradeep is sending a query and is sending a file to, let's say, to Krishna, who is sitting in US. Okay, from India, Pradeep is sending. Similarly, Hari is sending file to, let's say, to me, sitting in, let's say, in Thailand, nicely enjoying my vacation. Okay, now what is happening is Pradeep is sending the file to Krishna, Hari is sending the file to Krishna. Both of them are sending the file. Now, both of them are using the same service called internet, isn't it? And internet is a global thing. All of you agree?
Yeah.
So all these four people, even Pradeep, Hari, Krishna, me, should follow a set of rule, because it's a global rule, right? Whether I am in any, like, if the rule changes based on which place I am in, then it will never become global, no? If it's global, it has to be a common rule, right? So,
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
so the rule to send a file is already defined. So if you are sending a file, The file size should be there in the header. What file type it is should be there in the header. The body should be in this format. The URL should be in this format. So that format is properly defined, and we have to follow that. And that rule or that format or a template which is defined is called the protocol. Okay, so based on what you are sending, there are different protocols. Sending an email, we have SMTP, mail transfer protocol, right? Sending a file, we have FTP, file transfer protocol. You're sending the like username password for logging in, or you are receiving something also. Both ways it is there. Okay, if you're receiving or sending, anyways. If you're opening a page, it's an HTTP or HTTPS protocol. I'll explain what this S is. Everywhere there is S. SMTPS is also there. So I mean, like, sorry, SMTP, even SFTP, there is S there everywhere. I will explain what it is.
Secondly,
Yeah, and similarly SQL, JDBC. It's a protocol for databases. How you are accessing the database. It's a protocol, JDBC. So protocol is nothing but a set of rules or a format which everyone has to follow based on what you are sending and receiving in the internet. Clear, everyone? Any doubts in this?
no.
Okay, clear. Now coming to first most important in this internet world, right? Which is the web service protocol, we call it, or the HTTP HTTPS protocol. Some people call it web service protocol also, because it's websites and all those work on this protocol, right? The APIs and all. So that's why we call it the web service protocol, or web HTTP HTML HTTP protocol we call it. So HTTPS HTTP, so web service protocol. Let's understand that in now. So what are the format? What is the rule of HTTP and what should be followed? Right now we know. Okay, protocol is a rule. Now what are those rules? Right? How it should be. Now, if you break a rule, what will happen? If you break a rule, what will happen? Generally, there will be a penalty.
It will not some request.
We will caught. We will
Right?
caught and
There will be some punishment or penalty. Right? Same thing
yeah.
happens. If you are breaking, let's say, an HTTP protocol, you are sending something. Let's say Pradeep is sending an HTTP protocol something to me. I am a person who follows the rule very well. Okay, and he did something that, okay, some line he didn't add. Okay, what will happen when it will not, when it reaches me? I will not accept it. So it will actually, it will not go at all. That is one thing. If your protocol is not correctly formatted and all, it will not go at all. It will not leave Pradeep's system, because the internet itself will block it, because he didn't follow the rule. So what are those rules, right? That we
That
will
means
try to.
internet means the browser itself. It will
Yes, browser
stop.
itself will block it. Yeah, browser
Hmm,
itself will block it. It cannot go further.
hmm.
Okay, right. So
Yeah.
let's try to understand now what is the HTTP HTTPS protocol in detail. Yeah, any doubts till now?
No.
Okay, okay, great. So now let's try to understand what is an HTTP and HTTPS protocol. For that, let me open a website first. Let's come to Amazon itself. Okay, since many of us like it a lot, it's very close to us. So let's try to understand using Amazon. But if you see this Amazon again and again in this course, don't go and order something, okay? Because in psychology, there is a saying that whatever you see 8 or 9 times, you will do it. So that's why these advertisement guys will show you some ad 9 times so that you will buy it. How many of you know that science?
Sorry,
Yes.
Vishnu, I missed this.
Yeah, so if there is an advertisement, if you see it 10 times, you will buy it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yes, that is psychology.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yes, the same thing.
try to avoid seeing something 10 times. Yeah.
That's why I'm opening Amazon.
No, no, no. I am So I'm giving a disclaimer, okay? I'm just showing it for I will like just for learning purpose. So don't buy anything, but If at all you buy something, use some Indian e-commerce. I will promote Indian ones. Lot. Yeah.
And
Anyways.
even though you are buying anything, I will share my address, send it to me.
Sure, sure. Okay, right. Let's now understand. Okay, what's HTTP and HTTPS protocol? So let me reload it. Okay, so now this is the main request which is opening my domain. Okay, and if you clearly see this headers, okay, what I will do is I will just right click, copy, and I will just copy it as a C URL, or let it be. Otherwise, I will show it this way itself. Then you will be able to correlate things very well. So these are the general things. Okay, so let me take a screenshot of this once. First, let's understand these general things. Okay, what it is. So first, most important thing is your request URL. Okay, so the request URL, what you have, this one here, is very critical thing. Okay, now why it is very critical thing? Because it will contain the host. So what is host here, right? So let me zoom it a bit. Let me copy it into whiteboard. Okay, it will be easier for me to explain there. Okay, now here I have the request URL. So in this request URL, this is very important. Okay, because that contains my host. This is the host. This .com, Amazon.com, Flipkart.com, or edu.com, physicswala.com, byju's.com, whatever, right? That .com, the domain, is actually my host. And that is very important because this host is actually pointing to an IP. So if I put this amazon.com as amazon.com, it will not work, right? Because the host has to be really correct. If your host is perfectly correct, then only that IP you will get, and then only it will be able to connect, right? So if you put a wrong host, first important thing itself, I mean, like it will not go, right? Your browser will never be able to find the IP, right, or the DNS. So it will not pass at all. So this is the host, and this one is a protocol. We have HTTPS. So what is S? S is an SSL. Okay, so what
Hello.
is SSL? I will explain. Okay, in the next session, beautifully using one example where we will try to understand what is this encryption. I'll explain beautifully with an example of a thief and a police, okay, or a lock and key concept. I'll explain it very easily. What is an encryption in general, okay, and then we will clearly understand what is an SSL. So I'm parking it for tomorrow, okay, that I will explain tomorrow. Now coming to the request URL. So the HTTPS, what is written here is a protocol, and this www dot is generally if you have an application nowadays, or that redirects are already set up. Okay, so if you just open amazon.com, you don't need to put www dot. It is like a older way of accessing the websites. Nowadays it's not required. Okay, but generally people will still, I mean, like the developers will in the background would have kept some redirects. Okay, so that can also be, if someone by mistake types it, okay, then it should go there, right? So for example, see, I remove this www dot and I just enter Amazon. I will just clear this off. Now just observe. Are you seeing what happened?
Yeah.
So automatically two requests came, right? From Amazon.com,
Yes.
it went to www. So that redirect is automatically set up, right? You don't need to do anything. If someone types just Amazon.com, it will go to www.amazon.com. So you don't need to do anything. Okay. So that is the thing. Okay. So generally www dot will be there. Now coming to the request method, which is very critical. Okay. Now what is a request method? Let's try to understand that. there are various types of request method. So what you are asking from the server, based on that, the request method will change. Okay. Can anyone say what are the request methods you would have seen in your, career?
Get
Just call out.
get post
Hmm.
Put you put
put.
patch delete.
Okay. And has anyone seen this options method?
Yes, options.
Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a new type of method which is very common nowadays used, and it's very effective also. Okay. I will explain that. Anyways, I just wanted to know that. Okay. Now coming to what is a request method. So request method is simple. It actually specify what action you need to do. Action on a server. Right? What action you want to do on a server. That request method will define. So let's say it's get. So what get method will do? Purpose is retrieving the data. So when I open a website like Amazon.com, will it be get or not?
Yes. You'll get
Because
the
I'm
Get.
land page.
yeah, see, it's a get, right? Because I am opening something. Now let's say if I am doing some, like I'm submitting some form, okay? For example, let's say I go to one website.
Simply selecting the order.
Yeah, just a minute. I will show you one example of submission, okay? For example, let's say I'm setting find flights, choosing this flight, and then I'm filling a form. Okay, it's a small letters, but just want to show this example. Now, if you see here, what is the method now?
Post.
It's a post.
Post.
What post method does is post method. What I did was I submitted a form. So when I submit a form, some things I would have entered name, address, and all, right? That
Yes.
details will go to the server, and I will get something back. So actually, I'm posting something, right? So what this post is doing, submitting a data to a server, right? That
Inserting
is
the
a
data.
post method. Yeah, submitting the data, inserting, creating, updating, whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
So that is a post method. So if you're logging in, that is also a post method because you are sending username and password, right? Okay, so that's a post method. Now similarly, there's a put method. So put is actually very similar to post. Okay, for updating or creating a resource on the server, you can use put again. It's more similar to post. Okay, nothing much of a difference. There are minute differences like for example, actually there is no much. So let's say you're editing a user profile. Okay, you use put. Okay, but let's say if you're you're submitting a form, uploading a file, you use post. So some minute details, but generally post is more common than put. Okay. And it's something called idempotent. I will explain that. What is idempotent? For now, just understand put is also similar to post. Similarly, I have delete, I have patch, then I have options, then multiple other like head is there, trace is there, and some other things like that. So all these have different purpose based on, so you can read more on it. I can share some link or somewhere where all these request methods, what it is, you can read. Okay. But for now, generally, as a performance tester, you will come across only 3 or 4, maximum 5. Okay, not more than that. And these options, put, post, delete, get, this will be the most common ones you will come across. And if at all you come across some other protocol also, that anyways that API or whatever it is there, you will get it from the developer, right? You will get that proper body. So you just need to put it in the JMeter because all these are supported by JMeter. There is nothing that which is not supported by JMeter. Everything is supported by JMeter. Okay. Yeah, so that's a request method. So based on what you need action, what action you are doing on a server, the request method will be there. Then comes the most important part, which is status code. So what is all of your understanding of a status code? Come on.
It will tells about the whether the request is success or
Response.
not,
Yes,
or
exactly. Right?
indirect.
Yeah, true. So status code will give you whether whatever request you sent in a high level way. I'm specifically using this word high level way. Okay, high level way, whether it was correct, it was successful or not. Now, why I say high level way is I'll explain later. Okay, so whether it was successful or not. So what is meant by successful, right? Let's try to understand that. Let's say I'm sending a request to a server. The request processed in the server, and I get a response back on the browser. If I get a response back, then that is successful according to browser. So the response can be of different types, right? So based on the response what you get also, the status code will change. But generally, success and failure will be based on the response. So if you get a response, either it is success or a fail. If you don't get a response, it's a failure. If you get a response, it's success. But success also can be of different types. Okay. So there are various status codes based on what your response is. Okay. So let's try to understand that. So just call out how many status codes you would have heard till now. Anyone? Have you heard of
200,
200,
1,
110,
401.
301,
200,
404,
300,
200
400,
series, 300
500.
series,
100 cities,
500
200 cities,
series.
300, 400,
correct,
500.
400 series. Have you heard about this 100 series?
Yeah,
Yes.
information
Right?
codes.
Yes, right. And have you seen about 500 series?
Yes.
Server errors.
Server side.
Yes.
Internal server.
Exactly.
Server side.
Exactly. Great. So let's start with this 200 series. Okay. Like for example, 200, 201, 202, 204, 206, right? So for example, 200 is the most hero. This is what is our champ
Success.
as a performance tester. Okay. We should always get 200. Sometimes 206 is okay, but that is only sometimes. Okay, but most of the time it should be 200 only. As a performance tester, we have to make sure whatever we are testing is 200. 206 is conditionally okay. Any other codes is not at all okay for us. 301 is also okay sometimes. Okay, I'll explain what 301 is. Now coming to there's something called 202 also. It is called accepted. Then 201 is there, which is created. Then 204 is there, which is no content actually. Okay, but it is successful, but no content. Similarly, 300 is basic for redirect. Then 302 is there. Then 303 is there. Yes, and permanent redirect is there, which is called 308. Okay, but the most important is 400 and I mean like 500. So let me just put summarize, okay, whichever codes are very useful as a performance tester. Okay,
Sir, 1 minute.
yeah, go ahead.
You said 204 now. In the 204 we are getting the status code, but response from the server we can't. We are not getting anything.
No content, yes.
Bank response.
Sorry, your question is over. No, I didn't get the question, but
Yes, sir. 204 means we are not getting any response, right?
correct. You are getting a response, but nothing is there in the response, empty.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. 200, 206 and 204. Okay, we can keep it as a performance tester. Maybe sometimes you might come across that. Okay, then I will go to 300 series. So as a performance tester, what all you need? So 301. This list you can remember. Okay, you can read more on this because as a performance tester, this is the most important status codes you need to know. Okay, 308 and 307 also. Then next is a 400, which is also very important. Okay, 400. This is a killer. Okay, killer code for us because this is what shows that our script is wrong. generally. Okay, 400 is a status code given for bad request. That means whatever you're sending is something problem. Okay, your URL or your body or your
Correlation is
JSON format,
happened.
something. Okay, something you have made a mistake. Okay, so 400 is is a status code which shows that you have made a mistake, not the developer. So you should not go to the developer and say, oh, your system, your application is not working. He will just point you back, and I mean, like, it's an embarrassing moment that you made a small
Yeah.
mistake. Okay, so
Hmm.
make sure if you get a 400, check your script. That's the first thing. Okay, then next is 401. Again, 401, okay, you can go to the developer because maybe your access code or your access issues unauthorized, right? So if your authorization is not correct, you get generally this error. Then 404, again, you can go to developer. It's fine because maybe your URL which you are hitting, they gave you is wrong. Or once you can check that, okay, whatever they gave you, you have put it properly or not. If it is okay, you can go to them. 404 is nothing but not found. Okay, generally it will happen for images and all, media or some files like that. Even URLs also, if they did some deployment and that URL got totally changed, right, then this 404 will come. Okay, then 429 is there, but generally not you might not come across that. It's called too many requests. Okay, generally we call it too many requests. Your server is not able to handle more requests, so you get this 429. Now coming to the most important guy, which is our I mean, like, I can say a lifesaver. Okay. So as a
Okay.
performance tester, if you get server errors, then that is the time to show your visibility to the team.
Hmm.
Yeah, we are the performance testers and we have found the issue. Win-win moment. Okay. Not win-win, I will say it's a winning moment. Okay.
Winning
So
moment.
500,
Yeah.
yeah, 500 is an internal server error. It's a generic error. Generic means we cannot say why the error happened, but it's a generic one. Okay, 500. Like basically your browser couldn't get any response from the server. Means your server actually didn't do anything. Could be. Okay, 500. Then 501, 502. 502 is very important, which is bad gateway. So it's basically invalid response. So your browser will get a response, but it's an invalid response. Okay, in that case it's a 502 bad gateway error, we call it bad gateway. Okay, then 503, again, service unavailable. This error you will see when your test is running in between. Okay, like let's say your test is running, suddenly you will start seeing 503. Now when you see 503, the meaning of that is your CPU or something has gone down, suddenly failed. Okay, service overloading or something. Due to those reasons, this 503 will come. And 505, no, not required that much. Okay. Yeah, so these are the codes as a performance tester you need to be really aware about. You can just make a note of it. So 3 plus 3
But
6,
500 is
and yeah,
500.
yeah, 500 is this one. 500 is a generic error. We don't get anything out of it generally. Okay, but 502 and 503 is very important. And there is
Okay.
something called 504 also. Yes, gateway timeout. That's also very important. Yeah.
Sir, 502 is a not, bad gateway, right?
Yeah, 502 is a bad gateway. Exactly. Okay. Right. So,
And
sorry.
even Vishnu,
Yeah,
is there if there is any services or anything is down also we will get the 500 error, right?
could be. But generally, if your service is down, 503 you should get. Okay.
Okay.
Uh,
Hmm.
but yeah, if 500 is a generic error, right? It can happen.
Hmm.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay. Right. So
Okay.
I'm not taking much today more. I thought I'll show some example in JMeter after this. So that I will start tomorrow first thing. Okay. The JMeter part
Sure.
I will start. Today let's stop it. Try to go through the recordings and understand like whatever I spoke today. Just see it maybe in a 2x speed and all, and come back with the queries tomorrow. Okay, the first when we start itself, we can clear the queries. I can take one or two questions today, then we can stop.
Hi.
Yeah. Yeah, Raghu.
So,
Yeah.
do we get multiple status codes in a single page? Like when we record something, like can we get multiple status codes? So will it comes under pass or fail?
One request, one status code.
No, for
If you
if we have multiple
requests,
HTTP
yeah,
requests in a single page, so
yeah,
for one
yes,
request we make it. Yeah.
yes, yeah, could be.
So okay, so at that time will it comes under a pass test or a fail test? Because if you get multiple codes.
Pass is always 200 and 206. Rest of the
Okay.
all the things are fail only. Whether you get whatever.
No, in a single page only we are having multiple HTTP requests. In that some are passed and some are failed.
Yeah,
So
that's
how
what I'm
it will
saying, right?
impact?
So you will never worry about the other requests because other requests are maybe maybe secondary requests. You will look for primary only, mainly.
Okay.
Okay. And
Okay.
yeah, that's a good question, Raghu. If you have a microservice, some might fail and some might be successful. Then whatever is failing, you have to report.
Okay, but aggregately it's a failed test only.
Yeah, failed only. Yes,
Okay.
exactly. Yeah. Any other doubts, anyone?
In single request, multiple requests will be hit to
No,
the
no.
server.
Single request and single request only. It cannot become multiple. All requests
Just
will
for
originate and all requests will come back. Uh, it will be one only, single. It cannot be multiple. So what Raghu is saying, in a page, you might have multiple requests. Okay.
okay.
So that multiple requests will have different status codes. Yes. So for example, let's say this is Amazon, which we had, right? Now here I had filtered only doc. So I'll keep it all and I will reload this. So if you see, this is one page which I'm loading. I have so many requests, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
204,
So and
200.
all of them have different status codes. See, I mean different means like they have separate individual ones, 204,
Hmm.
200, and all. So that is what Raghu is saying.
Yes.
Okay. So
Okay.
if any of this fails, he's saying whether we should report. Yes, but that is only if it's generally for static files. It's okay. You can ignore. But if it is a request, the document
Main
request,
request.
yeah, then you have to report.
Then how do we know that multiple requests that are those are main requests only?
You have to understand the
Here you
application. See, before you test, the first thing you do is you understand the application. No, you directly don't go and test it. Before, because if you have to operate a patient, you know the patient first, right? Isn't it?
yes.
So,
Yeah. And
Vishnu, the type
yeah.
document means the in general that will be the main request.
Yes, generally it will be the main request. But again, as I said, it's a disclaimer. You have to understand the application before testing. Okay. So speak to a functional tester or speak to them, understand the application or the flows what you're testing. That's the first step you have to do. In the test planning and all, generally we do that.
No,
Okay.
no, that is fine. Even we know the functionality. Which
Yeah.
request is a main request? How we'll understand, Vishnu?
Yeah. So that is a document, right? We see this document type, right?
Huh.
Those will be the requests which are important. Now, see, we cannot say this is important, that is important, because if you
Mm,
have four document requests right here,
mm,
then
mm.
four will be important because that four might be doing some other purpose.
Correct.
Okay. So document type is very important. That's what I'm saying.
Mm,
Okay. Now this document type, there might be four, five, all five are important.
mm,
Okay. Again, but it should be the same host. That's also very important.
mm,
If host
mm,
is different, it might be some other thing, right? Which got captured
mm.
and all. You have to check
Correct.
whether that's a
Correct.
relevant request.
Mm,
Otherwise, all four are important. You cannot leave anyone.
mm.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
if you see the document type request, that is with the .php, so it
Hmm.
should be definitely in a full stack, front end kind of
Correct.
front end.
Yes. Yes.
Mm,
Right. Yes.
mm.
Yeah. And yeah, obviously, if you continuously do it right, you will come to know which are important, which are junk. That will happen with time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I will stop it here for today. Little
Thank you.
abruptly.
Thanks,
But
Vishnu.
tomorrow, first thing I will do is just go through the recording, clearly, and come back with the queries. Okay. We'll start with the queries tomorrow, and then we'll quickly start using JMeter. Okay.
Sure.
let's used. I mean, like, let's get used to JMeter now soon.
Yeah.
So tomorrow, let me start with that, and yeah, hoping to meet you all tomorrow. Thank you all.
See,
Have a
Vishnu,
good
I
day.
have one last
Yeah,
question. Sorry for
yeah, yeah.
bothering you.
Okay, okay. Yeah,
Can I install JMeter in the Apple uh,
yeah, yeah.
device,
Yes,
like
yes. No
my
issues.
Apple
No issues.
laptop? Right?
Yes,
It will work,
yes,
right?
you can. Yeah, right, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it will work. Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a different way of executing it and all that I will explain. Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay. Yeah. Okay then. Thank you all. Have a good day and good night. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you for
you.
joining.
Thank you, Vishnu.
Thank you, Vishnu.
Thank you. Thank you.